Mark, talk to me about what people should do when it starts to get colder outside and they want to bring their plants from the nice, warm, cozy outside, and we have to bring them inside for the winter.
That's a good question, especially if you have like, a tropical plant like this. You might have had it for a while, or somebody gave it to you, you want to save it. So one thing to think about is like kind of slowly bringing it back and forth. Like if you have a lot of time, you could bring it onto a porch for a while for part of a day, and then put it back out to the other part, the other climate it was in. If it was really sunny, say, to get it used to being in a less sunny environment inside your house. That's kind of hard to do. You might not have the time. So the thing to remember is when you bring it in, there's a few things. Like when you bring it in, certain plants might lose a lot of their leaves because they have to make new leaves that can adapt to the really shady environment of your house. So don't get completely freaked out if it loses leaves or they start to yellow and they slowly lose them. Just make sure that they're starting to get new leaves back. The other thing is a lot of times it's good to kind of quarantine your plant if you had it outside, because it could have pests on it. So instead of just adding it to all your house plants that were inside the whole summer, you might want to put it by itself and then check it every once in a while for scale or mealybugs or aphids or other things, and then treat those insects before you just put it by all your other stuff, because it could explode in your house and then you got more bugs than plants going on possibly. And also the plant won't grow as fast inside, so you don't have to water it as much as you did outside when it was in the sun and getting buffeted by the wind and things like that. So you oftentimes don't have to water it as frequently, though you have to think about how dry you keep your house, because then that might dictate that it changes a little bit, that you have to water it. Depends on where you put it in your house. So there's a lot of variables to think about, but in general, it's the plant's gonna grow differently when it's inside your house versus outside. So you have to, adapt your growing of it to the fact that it's in a new environment. And there's all these plants here. Schrader's Flowers, it's a partner of Green Bay Botanical Garden. They have a lot of great gift ideas here. So one of the big kind of trending things is succulents, because they can take it in those dry homes. They like more light maybe than some other things, so in a windowsill or somewhere it is good for them. They don't require all the moisture and stuff, and there's all different kinds of textures and colors and forms of them. This one is kind of a neat one because it's for more, say, in the springtime where you're starved for color in the winter and it's just snow and ice eventually. And then you have these little bulbs that have been forced here, and this hyacinth here will just have a really nice fragrance that'll spread throughout your home. These little miniature daffodils, the primula here, that's kind of a spring blooming flower. But kind of another tip on these guys is when you're buying a flower, like almost all these ones, you want to look for some flower power for your hostess gift or whatever. But if you do this little tip, you can look inside here, and if you see all these extra buds, then you know it's going to last longer, either if a gift for somebody else or for yourself. So don't just buy the one that's in full blossom. Look for the buds, because that's going to make it last longer as a gift.
Now, when I go to buy plants for myself or a gift, for some reason, and this may be incorrect, I think it automatically needs to be repotted. Is that wrong?
Yes.
Tell me it's wrong.
I mean, you don't have to repot it right away. I mean, you could, I like these, some of these containers are really cool from Schrader's Flowers, because you could just mix and match and pop in the different flowers that you want into this thing, this little container that has 3 slots, and then you could just let them grow on in there, and then you really don't have to pot it up, until it's bigger. A lot of plants require different things, so sometimes they like to be root bound in the pot, sometimes they don't like, and you need to keep moving up the size of the pot, so you really have to know that particular plant. But you could just kind of hide the growing pot with a decorative pot on the outside, and then not have to do all that work of potting it up.
Yeah, I guess I never know. I always thought being root bound was a bad thing, but you're saying it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, different plants different conditions. Some of them like it root bound, strangely.
Well, good.
Or maybe not strangely. This is an azalea, and it's kind of topiaried into a heart form, which is really pretty. And this is another one where it's hey, you could buy it, when it's just starting to color up on the buds, and then it's going to last, for a few weeks in your house in full flower. So it's kind of a way to extend that display longer by picking the one that's in bud versus the one that's full-blown bloom. Also, when you put it into your house, if it's warm in there, those flowers are going to open up faster and drop faster and all that, compared to perhaps where they were in the greenhouse. Well, this one's kind of a cool combo I like, because it has what you consider really a house plant, the peace lily. And then it has this hydrangea, and the hydrangea is going to last in flower for quite a long time. And you can, try to bring it in and out like we talked about before to get it, to grow longer and then rebloom. Or you could just kind of not have that one and then have this interior escape plant, and then that could be something that a person could grow for a longer time, easier in their house. So it's kind of a cool gift idea where you have that interior plant and that one that's the pop of color, but it doesn't have to last forever for them. They can either try to grow it or just consider like an annual plant and throw it away. And sometimes that's actually less expensive than a bouquet of flowers. You know, a flowering pot like that.
And it lasts longer.
And it lasts longer. Exactly.